just kind of an introduction. We are the Science and Wellness team. We're part of STEM. My director is Miss Jenny Christian, and my manager is Mr. Jared Tavares. I work with kind of a small team. We have 3 curriculum coordinators. Mr. Fabian Sanchez is over elementary, Miss Thuy Nguyen is over middle school, and I am over all of high school science. So I'm the one that you're going to reach out to with any curriculum questions. For biology, you also have some wellness integration with the SB9 curriculum coming up in January and the sexual health curriculum coming up in May, and that will be Miss Danielle Cole who will be over that. We also have a STEM engineering integration coordinator, Mr. Jeremy Harden. He is going to be working with engineering type competitions and integrating engineering into our curriculum. And then Miss Cian Grossman is our digital curriculum coordinator. She does all of the fabulous digital stuff for our departments. All right. So today, if you will please, just make sure you are muted unless you would like to contribute. I am okay with being interrupted if you have a question. But do keep it muted otherwise to kind of minimize that background noise. And my other big ask is that you please engage in the activities. It makes it a lot more fun if we're all participating and we learn more that way. What we're going to do today is we're going to go over those quarter 2 curriculum resources. We're going to look at the biology data and how those standards are assessed, that the ones from quarter 2. We're going to look into student engagement strategies, lab investigations. We're going to overview biology quarter 2, do our little reflection piece, and then fill out the surveys. And then we're all going to go have a wonderful evening with our family and friends. Okay. So our learning objective, just like in class, we're going to have an LO and some SCs. So today you are going to learn to create and apply student engagement strategies to the quarter 2 biology curriculum. You're going to be able to describe the breadth and depth of instruction necessary to teach biology's SEs for quarter 2, model where to find the resources, and explain how to create and apply student engagement strategies. So those are my hopes, and those are going to be your goals for today. Before we get into all of the fun stuff, you all should be doing PLCs at school. And one of the things that we're really trying to emphasize this year is this lesson internalization before you go to the PLC. So if you notice, before you go to the PLC, you should know what's coming up and what you're teaching or what you're getting ready to teach. So you should know what kind of some ideas about what the learning objectives and success criteria, the 5E lesson. You should have looked at the TEAC specificity chart, had some essential questions and understandings, and started looking at some assessments. Okay. All of those items can be found in the district curriculum. So what I try to do is put all of this stuff into your curriculum or into the district curriculum to make, in an effort to make your job easier. Okay, so if you ever feel stuck or you're looking for a specific piece, hopefully the district curriculum is where you'll go to find that stuff. All right. And then during your PLC time, you should be going through lesson rehearsal, and you should be focusing on DeForest 4 questions, which are, what is it we want our students to learn? How are we going to know that each student has learned it? What are we going to do when some kids don't learn it? And how are we going to extend and enrich for the kids that get it really fast? Okay, so we really need to be focusing the actual PLC time on answering those questions. All right. And I did have somebody who just came in, so I'm going to go ahead and put the sign in link and the link to the participant guide in for you. If you will look on your participant guide, you have a link to the PLC framework. This actually kind of goes through kind of a modified DeForest 4 questions and kind of breaks down what you should be looking for and what you should be prepping to go through the PLC process. And this is going to be kind of specific to science. You're going to be looking at this, I believe, in more detail on November 7th. But so do familiarize yourself with this document. And I had someone else come in, so I'm going to go ahead and put the sign-in sheet and the participant guide links into the chat for you. All right. Okay, so before we get into this, I do want to launch this poll. So you should see a poll on your screen right now. I want to know, do you know how to access the district science curriculum resources from Curriculum Central through Clever? And so I've got several answer choices. So read through the answer choices and just really quickly answer this for me. Okay. Oh, okay. So I have some of you that say, yes, you know how to, but you've never accessed the district science curriculum. Okay, some are in it at least once a week, and then looks like about half of you have to click around a lot to find what you need. Okay, so let's really quick, let me go ahead and admit one more participant. Let's go ahead and just very quickly, we'll go through Clever. Let me end the poll. All right. And we'll go through Clever just very briefly. So when you get into Clever, if you don't see Curriculum Central up at the top, you might have to scroll down and find it. And then you should have, well, I don't have hearts, but you should be able to favorite it and push it up to the top. We've also asked the district, asked Educational Technology to do this for everyone in the district. So hopefully by now this will appear up here for you. But if not, everyone does have a link in Clever to Curriculum Central somewhere. All right, so you're going to find that link and click on it. And then once you get into the link, you need to go to the science page. So you're going to go up here, mouse over content departments, scroll down to Science 2324 to get to the science page. And we're all biology teachers here, so our focused IPC links are right here on the landing page for science. So we kind of have to scroll all the way over to the right to get biology and biology honors. Okay. And you should see links for every week for Q1 and for Q2 on that page. Okay. So that's where you're going to get the IPCs. Now, when you click on the IPCs, so I'm just going to click on one of these because they look different this year. It'll take a hot minute to open. I just want to show you what you're used to seeing from the old IPCs is actually on this very first document. We call it the TEKS resource guide now. So that's going to have the old like ACP example items. It's going to have the anchor chart suggestions. It's going to have the labs. It's going to have the phenomena suggestions. All of that stuff is going to be on this document. All right. You'll have your TEAC specificity chart. Here is the second link. We have a whole bunch of engagement strategy links. And then down here at the very bottom, this is probably where you're going to be interested in and going. We have the science lessons. You can have the guided lesson, which is the 5E lesson written out in a Google Doc form, or you can have the structured lesson, which is going to be the slide deck that's made from the 5E guided lesson. Okay, so this is going to be where you're finding your lesson, is down here at the bottom of your focused IPCs. All right. So just very quickly, does anyone have questions about where to find or how to get to your lesson, your guided lessons, your structured lessons, your IPCs? And you can either unmute or you can put your answer in the chat. The other document, oops, let me get to Curriculum Central. The YAG, that is what a lot of you are going to be looking for as well. If you will go down here to Science 912, it's right below the focused IPC table. And when you click on that, then click on Biology. This is where you're going to find your TEAC specificity chart and your YAG. Okay. So just really two places that you need to look: under the Science 912 tab for your YAG and your specificity chart, and then on that spreadsheet on the landing page for your focused IPCs. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the data. I do want to spend some time here. So this is the data from the spring 2023 EOC administration of the biology exam. Okay. You also have links to all this data. So if you look on your participant guide, you've got links to a spreadsheet with 4 different tabs. Then you also have a Google Doc that has screenshots of each of the questions along with the data. All right. But this is kind of where I want to start, because what I've done is I've looked at the difference between Dallas ISD's data and the state's data. And if we had 6 points or more of a difference, of a deficit, then I put it on this table that you're seeing on the screen right now. And so just very briefly, take a look at the screen and have that wondering about what types of questions and how many were asked. Go ahead and click on the data. You have, I think, 3 links for data on your participant guide, and you can click on them and open them up and look at how many questions each SE had. I don't have it linked on here. Oh, I do have it linked. Let me let it load. So this very first tab shows you all of the SEs, and it has how many questions. So each SE had either 1 or 2 questions. So like, for example, 4A had 1 question. You can see over here that is blank. 4B, C, and 5A each had 2 questions. So there's data under C, D, and E, and F, G, and H for those. So there's 2 questions. So each one had either 1 or 2 questions. 7C wasn't tested. NT means not tested. And you can see the overall state data and the district data in columns J and K, and then the difference in column L. And so I have these organized in order. I've got the reporting category. So this is just an overview of all of the data. The second tab, I've reorganized it by item type. So I have it organized by multiple choice questions, and then down here by our different TE items. So drag and drop, SCR, text entry, multi-select, and multi-part. So we had those were our different item types that were on the 2023 administration. Text entry looks really bad. It was one question. And if you open up the Google Doc, which I think is the link right below this one on your participant guide, you can look at that question and see it was, I'm trying to think, it was a homozygous dominance. I think it was a chondroplasia. It started out with a word that the kids probably had never heard of before. And it was a homozygous dominant crossed with a homozygous recessive, I think. And it was asking how many would have the dominant form of the allele. And the answer was 100%. So go ahead and you can look at that question. I'll pull that data up. It's actually on the next slide. We were going to go over that. This third one is just the state and district comparison, just the general data. And then this last one is what you saw on the screen. And I've taken and kind of hidden the lines that were a difference of 5 points or less. Okay, so one of the things I noticed is there was on this set of data, there was only one SE in Q2 that was really, really low. And that was the text entry item. It was the genetics question. Everything else was taught in Q3 last year. And so we have made changes, and we'll get into the YAG in a minute. But I say I've made changes to try to give more time so that we have more instruction time for those kiddos in quarters 3 and 4. So for Q2, we have 6F. And then if we look at the 5 lowest SEs, 5B was taught in Q2. And we actually scored 2 percentage points higher than the state, although it was one of the 5 lowest. Okay. So these are all of the SEs that are being taught in Q2 or covered in some way. I know 9A and 9C were actually taught in Q1, but we use them in Q2. We kind of spiral them back in when we're going over cell respiration and photosynthesis. Okay, because we're dealing with biomolecules and their functions, and we're dealing with enzymes again. So we kind of spiral that back in when we're going over 9B. This is the district data. So the red one, you can see this is one that I identified that has one of the bigger deficits between the state data and our district data, 6F. And then 5B, we already talked about, that was one of the 5 lowest SEs, just based on percentage of students getting it correct. I did notice that 9A and 6E are also kind of low. So I went ahead and put questions when we go over the questions from the STAR test. I did put questions from those 2 SEs on there as well. But the main focus for Q2 to really kind of buff the students up would be 6F and 5B. Okay, if we look, you should have a document called Data with Questions. Okay, and this document is going to have screenshots. So it's got the data. It's kind of a big document, but it's got the data just like the spreadsheet does, but it's going to have screenshots of each of the questions. So you can see, like, this first one was a drag and drop for 4A, and you can actually see what the question was. I did pull from just a random student. So if the student didn't get it right, I put the correct answer down below the screenshot. Okay. So you can see there were drag and drops, and most of them were multiple choice. This is the 5B question. You can see 21% of the state got it right, 23% in our districts. Okay, so we're going to take a look at these. I don't want to get too bogged down here because I do have an activity where we're going to look at each of those questions, and hopefully we'll have enough time to really get into it. All right, so if you will look at your year at a glance, we already kind of talked about the low performing standards in Q2. So 5B and 6F, both of those are in Unit 6, which is right towards the end of Q2, probably when the kids are starting to see the finish line. So I just want you to look at the YAG kind of under the lens of what kind of student engagement strategies can we use for those specific SEs. And just kind of, I'll give you a minute or two. If you have anything, you can go ahead and put it in the chat now. We're going to talk about student engagement strategies a little bit more in a moment. Right. And if you've just come in or if you haven't signed in yet, there's the link to the sign in and the participant guide link in the chat for you. Like I said, I don't want to spend too much time here. So we are actually going to go through a whole section on student engagement strategies. So I am going to move on because it's 5:17. All right. So if you will go ahead and on your participant guide, open up the Jamboard. There's a link to the Jamboard on your participant guide. And go ahead and look at some of the questions. These are just screenshots of the questions that go over or that cover 5B, 6E, 6F, and then 9A. Okay, so go ahead. I don't know why this one is, there's a blank one on here. There should only be 5. Sorry. There should only be 5 on here. I don't know why there's 6. But what I want you to do is look at these questions and think about or discuss or put in the chat, what makes this a challenging question? Or put it on a sticky note on the Jamboard. I'm actually going to use what you put on the Jamboard, and I'm going to actually report this to my director so that we kind of have some ideas about, why these questions were difficult. Was it a bad question? Did the students have a misconception? Was there a problem with the figure? Did you just not have time to teach it? Whatever it is, we're going for brutal honesty here. So what makes it a challenging question? So we want sticky notes about what are the challenges and maybe strategies to improve student performance on these question types. So I do want to give you all maybe about 5 minutes. So I'm going to mute myself and give you 5 minutes to go through. You can go through just one question, or you can try and hit all 5 or just a couple. But I want to give you 5 minutes to kind of look at the questions and just put some initial thoughts on this Jamboard.
Mine says view only.
Did I do that? Hang on one moment. I thought, Okay, hit refresh, and now you should be able to add to it. I apologize.
Thank you. In just one more minute. Those are both really good ideas, by the way. And I noticed that the center picture wasn't labeled as well. So that is a good idea. And then DNA and RNA differences, yes. And it's definitely a new concept for the kids. So thank you. Students need more practice on, yes, more practice on mutations. And this one was an SCR item, so they had to answer it in a different way too. Yeah, this one, we noticed that it was a Punnett square question, but there was no Punnett square. So the tools, yeah, it would have been nice to clue them in that they could use a Punnett square on this one. I think that, along with this big, huge word starting it, just threw the poor things off. Complete an anchor chart after the lesson for complete modeling. Yes. Awesome. And this question that everybody seems to, every year they focus on mRNA, and this one actually brought in tRNA and rRNA. And we kind of, maybe some of us have gotten into a lull of focusing on that mRNA. And maybe the kids just forget about it too. So absolutely. So if you think of some other good thoughts, please go back in and add your thoughts to this. Those are excellent. Thank you so much for putting some of your ideas down. I do just want to mention that at the end of Q2, biology does have an ACP. The week is December 18th to 22nd. You can find the blueprints on the assessment website and the example items on School City, which is accessible through Clever. Okay, so I do want to get into student engagement strategies now. So just kind of remember that students are going to learn best when they're able to think about things, read, write, and discourse about things. Okay, so we really want to build thinking, reading, writing, and discourse into our lessons. We do need to focus on some elevation strategies. So for Q2, we've been asked to focus on the 4 kind of at the bottom of this little flyer. So writing windows, QSSA, expert and novice, and then inside, outside circle. So you can, on your participant guide, you can click on it's called the elevation playlist. And that will open up the playlist. All right, and it looks exactly like the screenshot. Go ahead and don't scroll, because there are other pages, but those are for RLA and social studies only. This is the only page that is for science. And each of these 4 links down at the bottom is clickable, and it takes you to a YouTube video with actual students and an actual teacher, and they walk you through. It takes about 2.5 minutes, and they'll walk you through each of those strategies. All right, so for writing windows, I do want to walk you through it. Get some of my stuff out of the way. So to get to elevation, if you've never done this, it's through Clever. So I'm going to go to Clever. I'm just going to kind of walk you through this step. And I'm going to scroll down until I find the elevation tool. It looks just like this. So then I click on it. And if you can follow along, that would be great. When you click on elevation, you'll probably get some data about emerging bilingual kiddos. But we're not looking at the data side of this. We're looking at strategies. So we're going to click up here where it says strategies. It's up at the very top on the right-hand side. And so when we click on strategies, it's going to bring up this page that has a lot of, it looks like little PD modules, professional development modules. We're not going to look at the modules. We are going to go up here where it says activities right above the modules. Okay. And we're going to click on activities, and that's going to open up a new tab that's going to have all of these, looks like little cards. Okay. And it's got, you can see it has 108 activities. And you can refine your search. You can scroll down and look for 9 to 12 only. If you want a writing activity, you can search for writing. If you want to do in small groups, you can put it, you can drop it down to small groups. So you can refine your search over here. And see, now I've got 10 activities out of 108. Writing windows is one of the activities. So you click on it. You can also just keyword search it. When you get to writing windows, this is what it looks like. You've got over on the right below the video, you've got downloads and links to graphic organizers and things that the students can use to fill out. Sometimes there's sentence stems, lots of things that you can use with your kiddos. All right. Right here, kind of on the left side, you've got about, then you have a how-to. So it tells you what to do before the activity, during the activity, and then evidence of success, quick tips to make it work better, what to watch out for. So on this activity, you're going to show them an image related to the content. And then the students in groups are going to list everything in the image, list adjectives to describe it, action words connected with the image. This is where you might pull in, what academic vocabulary can you associate with the image? So anything about that image, you're going to group them and let them discuss the image, jot down notes, and then they're going to write about the image, and then you can either discuss or have them turn in their writing. Okay. You can look up, if you click on examples, you can search for 9-12 science. And here's a science example to give you an example of how to use it. All right. And let's go ahead and look at the video. I'm going to play this video, and it's about 2.5 minutes. And it kind of walks you through how this works. And all of these strategies have this little 2.5 minute video. So I'm going to be quiet and just let you watch the video now. Oh dear.
In a writing window, students look at an image and then they have time to sit and write things based on that image. And afterwards, they have an opportunity to share out loud what they wrote about that image.
It is decreasing, then it increases. When it comes from the left, it's doing the same, decreasing and increasing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I post an image for the whole class to see, and then I give students about 1 to 2 minutes to think and share out loud with their table just what words they might include in their paragraph. So at that point, some students might want to jot those down, other students might just want to listen to them, and after that, students sit independently for about 5 minutes and they write out what they're going to write about the image. And after that, then students have an opportunity to share out loud what they wrote, to get students writing and talking to each other and just sharing in the content of the classroom.
When you're looking at the direction of where you're going, for example, like in 1-1, the limit going from the left is going to be 1-1, and then it's going to be different.
Teachers can use this activity as just a quick intro into a topic, just to get to see what students already know about the topic, or you can also use it just as an exit ticket out the door to see, okay, this is what we did today, I want to see what my students got from it. I think it's important to bring writing windows into any classroom because our students need to practice writing regardless of the content. Like even in my classroom, math classroom, our students need to practice that writing because when they're able to put something into writing, it helps them to think through the thought process. It helps them to think about that content differently versus just writing down, like here's how you do the problem. It helps them to explain themselves better.
Agreeing on that, we're discontinuous on the right side due to the fact that we're going to 2, yet we jump without touching a number.
I can differentiate this for English learners by providing them a word bank on the writing window sheet, also by pairing them up with a peer that I know can help them, and a lot of times just doing a small group and myself working with a specific group of students helps them a lot. I think there's a lot of power in using an image because especially nowadays our students are constantly looking at images on their phones, on their tablets, and so this allows them to relate to this. Like, here's an image and here's my commentary on this image. I think the image allows all my students to have an equal starting ground because all my students can look at an image. They can all see it and they don't have to listen to content, they don't have to read the content. We are just looking at an image and then whatever commentary, whatever they put on their writing windows, that comes from themselves. So it can be, if I gave you a sentence starter, or it can be like you wrote this 5-sentence awesome paragraph that could be in a novel.
Okay, so you have those for every single one of these 108 activities, student engagement activities. So that's a really awesome resource. You can also favorite the activity or bookmark it or recommend it. So for biology, I was thinking after you introduce Mendelian genetics, maybe you show them a Punnett square with non-Mendelian genetics and show them the phenotypes and have them, or incomplete dominance or co-dominance, something like that. Pick an image and have the students write about the similarities and differences based on what they currently know about genetic crosses, and encourage them to use that academic vocabulary. So that could be a way that you could use this. There's other ways as well, but that's just an example. Okay. So then let me get over here. All right. So QSSA is another activity that's found in Elevation. QSSA is question, signal, stem, share, and assess. So in this activity, you're going to identify questions to ask and get the sentence stems ready for students to use. And then you're going to put the students into pairs or small groups and have them, and you're going to ask the students a question. So that's the cue. Give the students some think time and tell them to give you a signal when they're ready to answer the question. So it could be a thumbs up. It could be put your hand on top of your head, something like that, so that you know that they've thought about the question and they have an answer. Then you're going to provide them with a sentence stem to use to answer the question and allow them to use the sentence stem to write their answer. And then the next S is share. So give the students the opportunity to share their response in pairs, in groups of 3 or in 4. So 2 to 4 people. And then at the end, the A stands for assess. You're going to determine the quality of the student discussions and the level of their understanding just by listening, or maybe calling on some of your students to respond to the prompts. So during our lesson on mutations, you could ask the students, how does a point mutation or a frame shift, whichever one you want to use, so how does a point mutation affect the protein that's coded for in the affected gene? And then allow them to think about it, give you a signal, provide them with the sentence stem. If a gene has a point mutation, the effect on the protein made from that gene is, and then let them answer. And then allow the students to share in pairs or small groups, and then randomly you can either let them share in front of the class or submit a written response to you. Okay. Expert and novice is basically you're just putting them in pairs. You've got one of them that plays the role of the expert and the other one plays the role of the novice. You're going to select some learning objectives you want them to basically teach each other. Determine the partner pairs in advance. And then you're going to assign one student to be the novice and the other one be the expert. The novice is going to ask questions. The expert's going to answer it. And then they're going to write things down. Then you're going to have them switch roles. So now the one that was the novice is now the expert, and the one that was the expert is now the novice. And the novice is going to ask the questions to the expert. So they're both going to get chances to ask questions and to answer them. Okay. And a biology example, you can have students discuss cell differentiation, ask and answer questions about cell differentiation. All right. The last kind of focus activity for Q2 is called inside outside circle. You're going to determine questions or prompts, write them somewhere where all the students can see it. So maybe project them on the smart board. You're going to divide the class into 2 equal groups, and you're going to have one of them be an inside circle and the other one be an outside circle. You're going to distribute questions on cards or write them on the board or something like that, so they have questions. And then you're going to basically time them, and they're going to talk to each other in pairs. So they're going to ask the question, respond to the prompt. When the conversation slows down, you tell them to rotate. And then they repeat the process as many times as you want. And then you regroup as a whole class and kind of reflect on the activity and responses to the prompt. So this will be a really good activity to allow pairs of students to practice genetic crosses using Punnett squares, and also calculating those phenotypic and genotypic ratios. So that would be a really good practice for them to pair up and practice doing crosses with each other as they rotate around from one pair to another, and they get some really good practice in it, and maybe buff up that B.6F question, that data. Okay, so again, those are just some suggestions, but do focus on these 4 activities in quarter 2. All right, I'm going to buzz through because I know we're running really low on time. So I'm going to actually ask you to look at the other. We do have other engagement strategies. So don't forget the Lead Forward instructional playlist. It's got strategies. We have these strategies embedded in our guided lessons. We have some culturally responsive teaching strategies. I have a link for that on your participant guide as well. We talked about mirrors and windows actually in Back to School. So mirrors and windows, common phenomena, student interests. Those of you that have been coming to my office hours, we've been talking a lot about student interest. And then don't forget those translanguaging strategies to bring in your emerging bilingual kiddos. Honor those 504s and IEPs. So make sure you're aware of accommodations and modifications for your kids. All right. Lab investigations. Remember that they do need to be 40% of your instructional time. So if you're having difficulties with that, please reach out and let me help you out. Okay. If you look, you have a link on your participant guide that has all of the lab investigations that are embedded in the district's curriculum. So I'm just going to kind of pull that up. Maybe. And I apologize. I had all these cool activities and we always run out of time. So you can see there's a lot of activities. It's just this one slide I've got for other content areas too, but biology, you can see there's a lot of labs that you can choose from for quarter 2. Some of them are wet labs, like the testing for starch. Some of them are virtual labs. There's a modeling lab. There's lots of different activities. There's model building. There's tons of stuff in here for you to do to get your kids thinking and doing. So do look at those laboratory investigations. All right. Quarter 2. Go ahead and click on this link. And I apologize. But we're going to finish on time. So this is going to show you all of the SEs that we're covering in quarter 2. Like I told you, for 9, we're really focusing on 9B. A and C, for quarter 2 only, they're kind of supporting 9B because we've already gone over them. And then we're covering 6A, C, and E, going over DNA. 5B, and then we're going to get into genetics and meiosis at the end. All right. Okay. So I do have just a couple of advertisements. Do look at the student and teacher opportunities that are being presented at UT Southwestern. They do have a lot of amazing things. So please, 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 I've given you a link that has events for teachers, events for students, and all of their programs and resources that they offer. So please, please, please sign up for some of those amazing symposia and things. Proclamation 2024 is starting to get real. We're going to have new TEKs and new resources next school year. So do start looking for information on Proclamation 2024. We have some upcoming trainings on October 16th. We have Discovery Education Experience. We have 4 times that you could come to that training. We also have some required training. If you've not already had Human Trafficking 101, then please, you do need to take that one. If you have had Human Trafficking 101 in the past, then all you're going to need is the SB9 new curriculum platform. So if you haven't been introduced to the new platform yet, then do come to this training. You do need to come to it. All right. And I've given you the Cornerstone links for all of those trainings. My office hours are every Wednesday from 4:45 to 5:45.